Thanks for listening to the Herd Podcast. Be sure to catch us live every weekday from 12 to 3 Eastern, 9 to noon Pacific on Fox Sports Radio and FS1. Find your local station for the Herd at foxsportsradio.com or stream us live every day on the iHeartRadio app by searching Herd.
Now let's get this party started.
You're listening to Fox Sports Radio.
Very good. I was very impressed.
It is great to be here. So it's ramping up now. It's ramping up, baby. Jeff Darlington, quote, I am now at the point where I would be stunned if Tom Brady went back to New England. Darlington's a legit guy, been covering this league for over 15 years. The buzz around the combine, I'm told this morning, this is official. I've been on the phone. Tom Brady's leaving New England. Another report from the Boston Herald. The Patriots have not reached out to Brady. Okay, so let's just go here. Instead of worrying and debating, is he staying? Is he going? We've done that. I'm not interested. Let's just put a checklist down of the 5 things we know that matter for Tom. O-line. He's not going to a crappy O-line. Peyton Manning talked about that when he went to Denver. Okay, he's an older quarterback. You got to have at least a top 10 O-line. Weapons. It's the primary complaint he has in New England. Get me guys who can stretch the field, playmakers. Head coach. He wants a winner. He wants a winning head coach. Division. You'd prefer not to play Patrick Mahomes twice a year. Let's not kid yourself. You really want to go to the NFC West? Not like any team would want him there, but you'd prefer to have, let's be honest, he's benefited greatly from being in the AFC East, the NFL's most dysfunctional division outside of New England for 20 years. And then finally, branding. He's got the biggest brand in the league. TB12 is a 7-figure brand. You're not going to throw him into Jacksonville. So O-line, weapons, head coach, division, branding. Now, you have all lectured me. You have all mocked me when I bring up the Dallas Cowboys. They are the only team in the NFL that is 5 for 5 on that checklist. But again, you have told me O-line, best in the NFL, weapons, lots, head coach, McCarthy, a Super Bowl, division, outside of Philadelphia, a lot of dysfunction, branding. Oh, good God, the branding's incredible. Adam Silver, the NBA commissioner, would vomit in his limousine if he heard this morning Brady was going to Dallas. It would knock the NBA off television for 6 weeks. But you told me that doesn't count. So let's go to the other organizations. Let's go to the LA Chargers. That's being thrown out, and I've been told Dean Spanos will kick the tires on it. O-line, team weakness. Weapons, very good. Head coach, unproven. Division, no thanks. Mahomes and Andy Reid twice a year. Branding, they don't have any. That's about a star. So Dallas is 5 out of 5. They're 1 out of 5. Let's go to the Las Vegas Raiders. Let's go to the Las Vegas Raiders. O-line, it's not terrible. Head coach, Gruden's a winner. Weapons, 1 running back I like. Division, again, Mahomes twice a year, pass. Branding, weird fit on branding. Tom's corporate. They're the rebels of the NFL. I don't like the branding fit at all for Tom Brady, who's all about health, who's all about corporate. That's not what the Raiders are. All right, who else you want for me? How about we go to the Indianapolis Colts? Okay, O-line, unbelievable. Weapons, Ebron's leaving town. Running backs, good, not special. Head coach, I'll give you half a star. I think Frank Reich is becoming a winner, but he wasn't a winner last year. Division, absolutely. A lot of dysfunction. Branding, I'd argue the branding is Peyton Manning. He's got a statue out front. All right, I'll give you 2.5 stars for that one. Who else we got? Tennessee. Tennessee's interesting. O-line, certainly good enough, ranked 8th by PFF. Weapons, superstar running back, interesting receivers. Not great, I'll give you half a star. Head coach, Mike Vrabel's won since he's been there. And this year, he's stunned the world. Division, again, a lot of dysfunction. Branding doesn't exist. Titans don't have a brand. It's a college football territory. So I give you 3.5. And I'm told that's the favorite. You cannot tell me Tom Brady be cheaper than Dak. Jerry's the best marketer in the NFL. No state tax, celebrity market, more billionaires in Dallas than LA. Did you know that? It's a money town. I'm not saying it's happening. You have lectured and mocked and told me there's zero chance. All I'm saying is a lot of stuff makes sense. Only franchise in the league. O-line, weapons, head coach, division, branding. And Jerry Jones loves to be talked about. This would be A-Rod to the Yankees on steroids, LeBron to the Lakers on HGH. He even looks right in the uniform. It even looks right in the uniform. So you told me it doesn't. You have lectured me and mocked me. He would be cheaper than Dak, marketer's dream. Jerry literally, Romo on CBS, Aikman on Fox, Michael Irvin on the NFL Network. Jason Witten went to Monday Night Football. He likes to be talked about. I'm getting Dak fatigue. Aren't we all kind of getting Dak fatigue? Brady is a new star and a new story. But, again, told there's zero chance. So, little old me, zero chance. The only one you go 5 for 5, that's all I know. All right, let's go to this. Joel Embiid, MRI this morning. He's hurt. In the last 2 weeks, I've had social media Joel Embiid of the Sixers. Instagram exchange with Jimmy Butler. I've had spectacular Joel Embiid, 49 points. I've had Joel Embiid has an MRI today, and emotional Joel Embiid, he flipped off a player. So in 2 weeks, I've got a fine, an amazing game, a stinker game, an injury game. Welcome to Joel Embiid. You get fired in the NBA as a GM and a head coach if you drive to the arena and you do not know what you're getting from your star or best player. You get fired. Tim Duncan and Kevin Garnett, two of the greatest forwards I've ever seen. Some winning years, some great years, some average years in terms of team. Mostly Spurs great years. You knew what you were getting every night. Every night when you drove to the arena with Duncan and Kevin Garnett. Rasheed Wallace, I covered him. Deep down, I think he's more gifted than both. Go ask Duncan and Kevin Garnett who they hated facing. Sheed. With Sheed, you never knew what you were going to get. I covered him. If you needed 30, he'd give you 20 and get a technical foul and get thrown out. If you needed 8, he'd give you 37 and be spectacular. He's a nice guy, by the way. But Embiid and Sheed was just fun. And there's a theory in business, I was told this years ago, and it makes so much sense. If you're in a very serious business, law, tech, politics, having a sense of humor goes a long way. Reagan and Obama had really easy senses of humor. It's endearing. If you're in tech, in law, in politics, these are serious, heavy, daunting businesses. Lighten up a little bit. It'll go a long way. If you're in fun businesses, get serious, because few people are. Comedy. You want to know who got rich? Bill Maher, Jon Stewart, Steve Harvey, Jerry Seinfeld, Chris Rock. They're serious people in the business of laughs. Basketball's a fun game. You go to basketball, you cheer, you have a cocktail, you take a date. Basketball's fun. Look at players who never achieved to their level. Dwight Howard. Goofy guy. Blake Griffin, stand-up comic. Rasheed Wallace, Joel Embiid, Shaq. They doubled down on the fun. Look at the people in the fun game of basketball who have been serious. MJ, Kobe, LeBron, Bird, Duncan. They left nothing. They squeezed every ounce out of the business. When you're in a fun business, take it seriously. When you're in a serious business, lighten up. Embiid's doubling down on the fun. I see a lot of Blake and a lot of Shaq and a lot of Sheed and a lot of get serious. Get serious about your diet. He doesn't even look in shape half the time. Get serious about your diet. Get serious about your game. Get off Instagram. That's why I've said before, I'll take the 6'10 point guard who gets the ball to shooters over the hysterically funny, and I don't know what I get when I'm driving to the arena as a GM and a head coach, Joel Embiid. Nice kid, great talent, fun game. But I have watched coaches get run out of jobs. When you're driving to the arena, what do I get from my best players? Coaches just end up, I've seen a lot of coaches get run out of the league. The guys that don't, Brad Stevens is starting to find when he drives to the Celtic game, he's getting like 28 from Jason Tatum. He knows exactly what he's going to get for the next 8 years. So Joel Embiid is hurt again. This is who he is. I got no idea what I get. Great, bad, fine, flipping off, hysterically funny on Instagram, greatest night of the season, hurt. I don't want to go that way. I've just seen that my whole life. Fun guy in an already fun business never gives me the most of him. Always leaves a lot on the table. Wish him well. Hope he's not hurt. Super talent. Funny guy. Good for the league. This is why I choose Simmons over Embiid. Coming up next, stories out now here that Brady's leaving. Okay, so we'll go back to my Tom Brady pie, which I had an original pie, then I changed my pie. Probably always better to have the original recipe, but we'll talk about that. But coming up next, we've discussed a lot of Tom leaves. Where does he go? Am I the only person that thinks New England's in big trouble if Tom leaves? I'm not saying coaches don't matter, but where's New England at tomorrow if Brady leaves? That's coming up.
Be sure to catch live editions of The Herd weekdays at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific on Fox Sports Radio, FS1, and the iHeartRadio app.
Untucked shirts, the best, made to be worn casually. Tall, short, thin, wide, doesn't matter. Go to untuckit.com, code HERD. 20% off. Great to have you in. Nick Wright in 10 minutes. Greg Cosell, top of next hour. Chris Jones with the Kansas City Chiefs. This is a really fun time for me. Yesterday, I am texting on the phone all night with GMs and scouts and scouting directors. I love this time of the year. This is so much fun for me because I'm into this stuff. Everybody's into certain things. I always feel bad for guys who are into hockey because you can't really talk about it in this kind of job. Like hockey talk, dies unless you're in Buffalo. The thing I'm into, which is mock drafts, you can talk about stuff like that because people are into it. And there's mock drafts. The Combine, we're at the Combine, obviously, today. We've been there all week talking to people, and I'm talking yesterday. I got some really interesting stuff on Joe Burrow later. I hate to break it to you, folks. All of you who think he's a great prospect, he's a good prospect. You're over your skis. It's going to come back to haunt you, but whatever. I like being right. I want to segue to this. Tom Brady, according to now Jeff Darlington, shocked if he comes back to New England. Other reports today, New England has not contacted him. Another report from the Combine, I am told, is he's looking. Tom is excited, and he is looking forward to free agency. So here's the thing. Even if Tom left, Colts, Chargers, wherever, folks, this is not going to be Shaq to the Celtics. We've seen Michael Jordan play with the Wizards, and we've seen Joe Montana end with the Chiefs. It didn't affect their legacy. I've always believed that your brain, to some degree, protects you. That I grew up in the rain in the Pacific Northwest. I grew up on the coast of Washington State. It is the wettest spot in the continental United States. I grew up next to the wettest city. We used to have to go into showers at halftime of football games because it was all mud to just put the hot water on. It was cold, driving rain, starting in about October. I don't remember. Outside of the football games, I don't remember it. I remember the sunny days in the summer. I don't remember rain. I don't remember it. I remember a couple football games. Why? Because I think your mind protects you. Your mind's trying to be optimistic. I'm not saying negative things don't affect you, especially if they're physical. But our mind wants us to remember the good Michael Jordan and the good Joe Montana. And the media generally shows us the good. And so we get over and over and over reels and discussion and talk of the good times. We tend to remember the good times. They're never as good as we remember them. They've done studies on this where people, the memories of your childhood are greater than the reality. Most of the time you were bored as a kid. You didn't have tech. You didn't have cable. You didn't have the internet. You 50-year-old guys, your childhoods were mostly boring, but you remember the one trip with your dad to the beach, or the one trip to Hawaii, or the one trip to the mountains. So I've seen Shaq end up on 13 teams. I've seen Akeem end up to the Raptors. I've seen Patrick Ewing end up with the Sonics and the Magic, Orlando Magic. I've seen Emmitt Smith end up with the Arizona Cardinals. That's not where my brain takes me. It doesn't matter where Tom goes. Tom's going to go somewhere. Let's say he goes to the Chargers. He'll go 9-7. He's not going to beat Mahomes. He's not going to beat Kansas City. He'll go 9-7, may get a playoff berth. He'll go for a couple years. He'll chop it up in Tennessee. He'll chop it up at the Chargers, Colts. Tom is going to pick a place that's fit for him. He'll be fine. He'll be fine. He won't be as great 3 years ago with New England. He's not going to be Mahomes in Kansas City, but Tom will be fine. New England will not be. They will not be fine. They had a succession plan. Robert Kraft got rid of it. They sent it Jimmy Garoppolo to San Francisco. It's Jared Stidham and Andy Dalton. New England's defense is old and getting expensive. Their offensive line doesn't have a Pro Bowler. Their weapons, no tight end, no go-to receiver. Add Andy Dalton. Add Jarrett Stidham. Don't kid yourself. Coaches matter. Andy Reid extracts every little ounce of talent out of Patrick Mahomes. John Harbaugh is clearly helping Lamar Jackson. Nobody would deny Belichick's great. Losing record without Tom. 2 teams, New England, Cleveland, losing record without Tom. They don't have a succession plan. And nobody in the AFC is going to let them trade picks and move ahead of them to get a quarterback. Not going to work that way. They're like the Lakers. If you end up being good and LeBron chooses you, great. We're not helping you get there. We're not helping the Lakers. We're not helping the Patriots. So, we can all talk about, Tom, he's going to have to sacrifice. What's New England's plan? That division now is legitimate. Buffalo's a real team with a real coach, a real GM, and a real roster, and what appears to be a really talented young quarterback. I think the Jets have a lot of talent. If they can solve their offensive line, they finally got a grown-up general manager. And Miami's rebuilding, and I love what I saw from their tank job last year. Joy with the news.
No.
Turn on the news. This is the Herd Line News.
Well, while the Cowboys' Tom Brady theory is out there, they are still working to lock in a long-term deal with Dak Prescott. Head coach Mike McCarthy agrees that Dak is the right quarterback to lead the franchise.
Oh, all right.
Well, I think, number one, you just look what he's done in his time in the league. I mean, I think he's been impressive. I know I've been impressed with him since the first time I saw him play live, up in Green Bay. He's gone off to a great start. He's built a really good foundation. I'm told he's a tremendous leader. So, in my philosophy, as we get with, the personnel department and as we go through that, I mean, the defenses get you to the championship. The quarterbacks win championships, and I definitely feel Dak is that quarterback.
Look, it's so weird to see McCarthy in a Cowboy outfit, isn't it? It's crazy.
It is
I'm
odd.
so used to him being a Packer coach.
I'm very excited to see what he does with Dallas.
So am I.
That's a pretty strong endorsement of Dak Prescott. The Cowboys reportedly met with Dak's agent at the Combine yesterday for the first time since September.
They did. How did that go?
I don't know how it went, but this was the first meeting since September.
They had a coffee and they talked.
That's a good sign that they are talking, I guess. I think the deal gets done.
All right. I probably do, too. I just don't see a 75-year-old owner wanting chaos.
No, I mean, unless Tom Brady comes down and says he's going to play there, because it's really on Tom Brady to make that decision. Like, I mean, maybe the Cowboys have reached out. We don't know. But if Tom Brady comes knocking on the door before Dak Prescott signs, then yes, obviously, if Dak Prescott signs, that's off the table. But I think as much fun as that would be, and obviously we root for chaos, that would be chaos. I do think they get the Dak Prescott deal done.
So do I. I just think it's a number, and I think they want to be closer to 29 to 30, and he wants to be closer to 36.
I'm so interested to see what that number ends up being, though, because the last reported number was 33.
And the cap's going to go up, we know.
Right. And they are also kind of holding off because of the CBA situation, too, I think. But they're going to try and get it done, obviously, before that, because it's looking like that might end up dragging out a little longer than they initially thought.
Yeah.
So Joe Burrow met with the Bengals at the Combine yesterday. He had an 18-minute meeting, very specific number, 18
minutes. Joe Burrow with the Bengals.
With a group that included the team president, Mike Brown, head coach Zach Taylor, and offensive coordinator Brian Callahan.
How did it go?
The meeting reportedly went well. Leaving the team sold that Burrow is a smart guy and will be ready for the NFL.
Oh, I think that's obvious. I think he's a smart kid who will be ready. I've heard him talk. He sounds like a smart kid.
I think that the situation with Burrow is this. If you are like you, who thinks he's a good prospect, not a great prospect,
by the way,
I think he's a great prospect. However, I think that him going to the Bengals is going to hinder his career. So in a kind of...
We'll end up in the same place.
Right. Like you'll end up being right because you think he's a good prospect, not a great prospect, and I'll end up being somewhat wrong because I don't think he'll ever reach his full potential going to Cincinnati. Now, listen, I'm going to be optimistic about it, but, the Bengals aren't a complete disaster. They have made the playoffs.
They have two very good defensive linemen, and A.J. Green didn't play last year, but he's talented. And they have an offensive lineman they drafted, got hurt, he's back, so the O-line should be better.
I just think that everyone's speculations or reservations about Cincinnati are fair. They have the number 1 overall pick in the draft. They were a disaster last year.
Yeah.
And they need a lot of pieces and a lot of talent. But to me, I'll believe in what Cincinnati's plan is when I see them be aggressive. And we just haven't seen Cincinnati be aggressive.
Cincinnati is one of those teams. Philadelphia is aggressive. The Rams are aggressive. The Cowboys have been aggressive. Cincinnati's a team that's on the cheap side that has never been really aggressive in free agency. It's not a great free agent landing spot. The reputation among players in the NFL is Cincinnati is cheap and sort of second tier. That's the reputation.
The NFL is not a league that rewards conservative.
You got to spend money.
You have to spend money. Yep. You have to be aggressive. You have to make big moves. Yeah, it does not reward conservative. If you go out and make a big play for a big free agent, if you make big trades, if you come at the season as if this is a win now situation, it will reward you. Now you have to actually win. The Rams were incredibly aggressive, and everyone was very critical of them. And Jared Goff and Todd Gurley.
Kansas City this past year went out, and San Francisco went out and got Dee Ford and Emmanuel Sanders. And Kansas City went out and got Frank Clark.
But they put it all together and were able to win. Everyone's very critical of the Rams. I don't have a problem with what the Rams did. Was your team in the Super Bowl in the last 2 years?
Kansas City was aggressive. Baltimore, by the way. Baltimore went and got Marcus Peters. Mark Ingram. Baltimore got aggressive. Cincinnati historically does not do that.
Right. So finally, the Colts have not committed to Jacoby Brissett as their starter for the next season and are exploring their options. And they're reportedly very interested in bringing in Phillip Rivers. Ian Rappaport says he's talked to many at the Combine who believe that Rivers will be a member of the Colts next season.
Great O-line, perfect fit. Still think he's limited, but if he's going to go anywhere, Brady and Rivers, this is the one place you go and don't get hit much.
Well, I like this more for Rivers than Brady because it's kind of hard for me to picture Brady walking in
past Peyton Manning's
statue. Peyton Manning's house. Yeah, it's just a weird place for him to end his career. Yeah. Phillip Rivers, I don't think it has that same connection to Peyton Manning. So I could see Phillip Rivers being there. He is better, I think, than Jacoby Brissett right now.
Yeah, he is.
So if this is a temporary situation, this is a perfect fit for Phillip Rivers.
I think it'd be fun. Phillip Rivers for the Colts, I'm watching that.
No, I am watching that. And while, we kind of feel like it's the end, but if Phillip Rivers wants to keep playing and the Colts feel like he's an upgrade over Jacoby Brissett, and they're not going to get a high draft pick.
Go for it.
Quarterback, go for it, yeah.
Enjoy with the news.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
The Herd Line News.
He's my friend. He's the host of First Things First. Nick Wright joining me via the Coward Global Satellite Network. Brought to you by Mercedes-Benz, the best or nothing. So here's what's happening in the NBA now. The Houston Rockets, they got in a little streak. They got in a little streak, so I'm supposed to suspend my belief on what I've seen with Westbrook for 12 years and now believe the new Westbrook is what I've seen in like 8 games since the trade. I, of course, think Houston's an interesting mess that will unravel, but Nick Wright, let me guess, you think this is the new Westbrook and the Rockets are going to the moon, right?
Well, Rockets going to the moon. That's a very nice turn of phrase, Colin. It's been far too long since we've talked. It's great to see you. It's great to see Joy. And by the way, Joy, to answer your question a moment ago, has your team been in the Super Bowl in the last 2 years? Why, yes, it has, actually. Thank you for asking. But now, more directly, to Colin Cowherd's question about Russell Westbrook. I went into the year saying the Rockets were the third best team in basketball.
Yeah.
Lakers, Bucks, Rockets. Right now I see here today, I think they're the third best team in basketball. Lakers, Bucks, Rockets. We don't need to see a new Russell Westbrook that we've never seen before. We just need to see the Russell Westbrook we saw for the last few years prior to the beginning of this year, who doesn't shoot threes. And for the first time in forever, he's not shooting threes. He has nothing but space in front of him because of a very shrewd, if not criticized at the time, trade by Daryl Morey. And you're unlocking the best version of Russ we've seen in a few years. That's what the Rockets need. Now, is that going to be enough to beat the Lakers? I'm not certain, but I'm so glad we're starting with Russell Westbrook because, Colin, if I may pretend to be that kid Joey, but Colin, here, I do have one question for you. For quite some time, I remember when a guy left Russ and his numbers skyrocketed, we blamed Russ. Paul George played with Russ last year, 28 a game, third in the MVP voting. Paul George, with your BFF Kawhi Leonard this year, is he an all-star even? I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying. I don't know what it means. I just think it's interesting, something maybe we should talk about at some point. That's all.
All I'm saying
maybe he misses Russ. Maybe he needs him.
It was when Durant left Russell and when Paul left Russell, Russell's stats can explode. But he's still the same Russ when you face him 6 times in 2 weeks in the playoffs. He is intense. He doesn't have a shutoff switch. And I think in the end, this is a team once they face a Rudy Gobert and Anthony Davis, a big center rim protector. Russ isn't getting as many freebies as he did last night, and I did watch the game for an hour. So
I don't, just real quick, Anthony Davis maybe. I think Gobert's unplayable against this Rockets team. They've played him 3 times since they've gone super small. Gobert's looked awful in all 3. So I actually think that's a matchup the Rockets would love to have. I hope we get Rockets Clippers in round 1 and the team that actually tried in the regular season gets rewarded and your beloved Clippers get sent home, but we'll see what happens.
Okay, I have this theory that in serious businesses, you should have a little fun. It goes a long way. Obama, Reagan. Politics are heavy and daunting. Funny guys did well. It was appreciated. Funny guys in tech, in law. But in fun businesses, be serious. Bill Maher, Steve Harvey, Chris Rock, Jerry Seinfeld. Take comedy seriously. Basketball's fun. The guys that I have seen underachieve in my career, Shaq, Dwight Howard, Blake Griffin, Joel Embiid, Sheed. They're fun guys. They're great, but fun guys. The guys who took basketball, a fun sport, seriously, MJ, LeBron, Bird, Kobe, Duncan, squeezed everything out of their talent. Embiid doubles down on fun. He's Rasheed. I don't know night to night what I get. 49, flipping somebody off, a stinker against, was it Giannis the other night? I'd move Embiid. He's hurt again. He's hurt again, Nick. You tell me how to solve Philadelphia, because it's not working.
Okay, first of all, your fun, not fun thing, brilliant. I hadn't heard, somehow this is one I haven't heard from you. I was thinking about it as you were saying it. Almost impossible for me to poke a hole in. I love it. Now on the Embiid part. This is so tough, man, because you and I both 2 years ago were already engraving MVP trophies for Ben Simmons down the road. And if we watched video, if we watched game footage of him, you would not be able to tell, was it year 1, year 2, year 3? He's the exact same player, and it's disappointing. Embiid might be more disappointing in this regard. Last year, Colin, he's 28 and 14. 28 points, 14 rebounds, 2 blocks a game last year. That means he was this close to being 30 and 15. That's league MVP. That's what Giannis is doing. And instead he went backwards. The maturity stayed about the same. We thought, or I thought, he's in tears after the playoff loss, the only team to take the Raptors to an elimination game last year. He's going to be better. He's not. He's a little bit worse. I think they're both flawed pieces, Embiid and Simmons. I would rather, though, keep Embiid, because if Embiid just maintains where he was last season, he's one of the 9 best players in basketball. Ben Simmons' total refusal to shoot the basketball and to just to make himself vulnerable to the public, do something he's not comfortable with because it will make the team better. If he's not doing it now, I don't know when he'll ever do it. But there's no way to fix the Sixers other than move one of these pieces, move one of these guys who just don't clearly play better without the other one on the court. I would move Simmons. If you want to move Embiid, fine. But I think this summer, the Sixers, they probably fire their coach. They probably trade one of their pieces.
Okay, Tom Brady to the Cowboys. Nobody buys it. I do think the 5 things that matter to Tom, O-line, weapons, coach, winnable division, and branding, it's a home run. And I know everybody goes, oh, hot take. Listen, Tom's going to get a choice here. Dallas is the only place that makes sense. Jerry Jones is a marketing genius. He'd be cheaper than Dak. So I'm told it's an eye roll. Do you think it's an eye roll?
I don't think it's an eye roll. I think the Chargers make a ton of sense, and I think you are leaving out the factor of I do not believe this is only Tom Brady's decision. I believe his wife is going to have an immense amount to say in this, which is why Southern California, where they own a home, where undoubtedly their kids have friends, where it's easier for her career, all those things, I think the Chargers and their weapons and the fact that the Chargers will overpay immensely because they need people to pay attention to them make a ton of sense. The Cowboys do make some sense, though. And I do wonder if the Cowboys cannot come to terms with Dak, if they franchise tag him and they have the opportunity then to trade him, in a world I heard you enjoy talking about how aggressive teams are, if Frank Clark, when he's franchise tagged, gets a 1 and a 2, if Jalen Ramsey gets 2 1s and a 4, if Laramie Tunsil gets 2 1s and a 2, what does a quarterback-starving team trade for Dak Prescott, who a lot of people think I have underrated and is a great quarterback? And so if you're the Cowboys and you have the ability to get Tom for less money and get multiple additional first-round picks to supplement your team with cheap young players, which you have to have because you've paid so many other guys, it's something that at least, let me put it like this, you at least have to have a closed-door meeting to talk about it. I do think that. I don't think it's just a hot take. I do think that FS1 would be rebranded first, or FS1 with the Dallas Cowboys and Tom Brady, but that'd be fine. Just change the little marketing tools. I feel like it'd be the only thing we talked about, but I don't think it's crazy. I think it's just squint hard enough plausible.
By the way, minute left. New England. Brady leaves. What are they next year?
Same thing they'd be with him. 10 wins probably. Maybe
really?
Fight with Buffalo for the division. Not that. Yeah, I mean I don't think they're a championship contender with or without Tom, which is why I think it's smart for them to try to turn the page and why they've been looking towards turning the page. That team was smoke and mirrors this year. And they start out 8-0 with this unbelievable defense against one of the worst quarterback lists we've ever seen. The only quality quarterback they played in the first 8 games was Big Ben, and 1 quarter later his elbow popped off the bone. So, how good was he in that game? So, I think the Patriots them losing in the first round was not just Tom's fault. He didn't help, but that defense wasn't quite as good as it looked early in the season. Obviously, they've missed on some draft picks, and unless they trade for Cam, I don't know what quarterback can come in there that's available that is an instant difference maker. I think they probably make the playoffs because I'm not sure if Buffalo and Josh Allen are ready to take that next step. But either way, I think they are once again playing on Wild Card Weekend as the AFC East champions, and that's about as far as their season goes.
Good stuff. Nick looks tanned, well-rested, and happy. We're so happy for him. He's on First Things First.
Thanks.
By the way, I did not see it this morning. Did you have a new person on the show? Did Kevin debut today?
We did. It would be very
Kevin
embarrassing
Wildes.
for you if he hadn't yet, and you just revealed it to America. But yes, Kevin Wildes. Kevin Wildes started this morning. He's a great new teammate. We're super excited for it. Thank you so much, Colin. And I have missed you guys. It's great to be here, and I'll talk to you guys soon.
All right, good stuff. Nick Wright. Kevin Wildes, new on First Things First. Known him for years. Very, very funny guy. In fact, done stand-up. Very, very funny guy. Smart guy. All right, coming up next, on the phone all night, Joe Burrow. What the people that matter in this league are saying next.
Be sure to catch live editions of The Herd weekdays at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific.
So great to have you in. Oh, I got to read a spot here, Joy. Upgrade your wiper blades. Michelin Endurance XT silicone wiper blades. QuadTech 4-layer foam stuff. And it repels water, snow, and ice. Walmart 2 times longer. There you go. All right. So, Joy, you know what I did last night?
Did you do some research on Joe Burrow?
This phone was on fire last night. Hold on. Oh, my God. I got to put that thing down. I feel like a teenage girl with Instagram. I can't stop staring at my phone. Okay. So this is the way it works in the NFL. Okay? The general managers of NFL teams ask their scouts and their scouting director, you got to give me comps. Give me a high end, a low end. Give me a comp. Who is this player? So I'm going to give you some comps, what the quarterbacks are getting in this draft. Tua, for instance, his comp is Drew Brees. There's a little bit of Russell Wilson. I don't think he has the escapability or the athletic ability of Russell, but I'll say Brees. Drew Brees has two great strengths. Our leadership, he's unbelievable. Maybe the best quarterback leader, he and Brady ever. He and Brady and Aikman. Leadership and accuracy. And Drew Brees, a younger Drew Brees, was a lot more athletic than people give him credit for. I think young Brees and current Tua are very similar athletically. Drew's always been a way better athlete than people give him credit for. We know certain guys are great athletes. He's a good athlete. So Tua is Brees. Justin Herbert. I like scouts are very skittish. People are saying Justin Herbert. What concerns them, he's Ryan Tannehill. Big, can throw a deep ball, strong, athletic. Don't ask for anything off a script. Can win if everything is perfect for him. Good O-line, good running game, got protection. He's Ryan Tannehill. Big, strong athlete, can move, throw a deep ball. You're not getting anything off the script. Jordan Love. There's a little Mahomes here. Now, I don't think he's Patrick, but he's raw. His mechanics need cleaning up. He can be loose and sloppy. But there are tapes you watch and go, OMG, WTH. Wow. You go back to his sophomore year and look at clips. I'm telling you, he looks like Mahomes. He's slinging it sidearm. He's making plays. Jacob Eason at Washington. Joe Flacco. Not sure he's really built for today's NFL. Not mobile, cannon for an arm, big kid. Like Flacco, if you give him protection, if you give him a couple of playmakers on the outside, Jacob can deliver. He is a big, strong athlete. If this draft was held 6 years ago, Eason may go number one over all these guys. 6'5", good kid, big arm, can really sling it. But, boy, you put him in a dirty, muddy pocket with pressure, he disintegrates. That's not the current NFL. A Jake Fromm from Georgia. What I'm hearing is it's a little Andy Dalton. Good kid, win you games, complete some passes, pretty accurate, limited. A limited arm talent, not going to do much over the top. He can move a little bit, but he's not a super athlete. Again, could be a guy you could start and you could win games. I mean, Case Keenum went 13-3, folks, with the Vikings. But again, is Jake the future of the league? They wish he was a tad taller, wish his arm was better, little better athlete, but certainly starts at Georgia. And, he beat out, he's beat out a lot of good quarterbacks. They get 5-star quarterbacks. Then it comes to Joe Burrow. And this is why I've said Burrow is a good prospect. He's not a great prospect. You know who the two comps I'm hearing for Burrow? Tony Romo and Kurt Warner. Both were undrafted. Okay, I love Warner and I love Romo. Let's stick with Romo for a second because they wear the same number and they play the same. Like Romo, he's athletic. Not a superstar athlete, but an athlete. Burrow and Tony Romo will let her rip, take risks. They're not afraid to throw a pick. They'll let it rip. That's a quality I love about Burrow. He'll let it rip. Both see the field well. Both have good enough arms. I'm told last night by an executive in the NFL, one of the smartest guys in the league, Romo has a way better arm than Burrow. He said, don't kid yourself. Burrow's arm is pretty average. It's not bad, but it may be average around the NFL. It's not special. Romo had the better arm. I also think Romo was the better athlete than Burrow. Not by leaps and bounds, but slightly better. But that's his comp. Tony Romo went undrafted. You're trying to tell me this is Peyton Manning. Okay, Peyton Manning's number one pick. Okay, when you start giving me all these intangibles, well, he's a leader. Remember, LSU had everything in place. They just needed a quarterback. Cincinnati's got nothing in place in a really loaded defensive division. That's why I'm saying about Burrow. He's a good prospect. Now going to a cheap, dysfunctional organization. I think he is going to struggle to take in that division with the Rooney family, with the Steelers defense, with Mike Tomlin, with Steve Bisciotti, John Harbaugh, Lamar Jackson, that defense, with a new staff in Cleveland, and I like Cleveland's defensive front. In fact, I think more than the receivers, I think the strength of the Cleveland Browns is their defensive front when Myles Garrett comes back. That's a real defensive front. That's all I'm saying. It's not haterade, but I'm not some local pom-pom waving blogger. I think he's a good prospect going to a cheap owner. That doesn't say Hall of Fame to me. Now, if you put Burrow on a lot of other teams, I would have a greater sense of accomplishment going forward. His ascension, I could almost guarantee. But in Cincinnati, I do not believe a good prospect, maybe even a very good prospect, pulls them over the Steelers, pulls them over Tomlin, pulls them over Lamar and John and their owner. I don't. So it's not hate. I think he's a good prospect, and his comp is Tony Romo. And I always liked Tony Romo way more than all the Cowboy fans who banged on him for years. I was a huge Romo fan. My previous employer, I spent 9 years defending Tony Romo. So don't tell me I didn't like Romo. He's Romo, but his arm isn't that good. Romo had bigger hands and a better arm. And I think was slightly better athlete. Greg Cosell next. So fired up. Hour 2. It's a Thursday. The Herd.
Want more Herd? The Herd streams 24 hours a day, 7 days a week within the iHeartRadio app. Search Herd to listen live or on demand.
Really think about it.
It's crazy.
It is. I mean, it's Jordan Wizards, like it's Joe Montana Chiefs. Like,
but I mean,
crazy.
it's sudden because Jordan quit and then he came to the Wizards. Jordan was great, went to baseball, great, left basketball, then Wizards. This is Tom Brady in the playoffs. Tom Brady, Chargers. What? Excuse me? Huh?
I mean, it's not the exact same scenario, but it's just like a legend with a dynasty and then moving on. It's just like, it's kind of crazy.
And he leads the dynasty.
Yeah.
So here's the stories. Mike Lombardi knows Tom very, very well. Mike Lombardi, former NFL GM, worked with the Patriots. Athletic says Titans and Raiders are the only teams where there's a possibility. Mike generally very well connected here. Jeff Darlington saying Schefter and Darlington are more connected to the Brady situation than a lot of people realize. Both feel the Titans have an edge. So Lombardi is saying Titans, Raiders. Other guys are saying Titans. So let me just say this. I came out. I had my first Tom Brady pie. I love delicious pie. It was 70% Tom stays in New England, 25% Tennessee, 4% surprise team, and 1% retirement. And then I adapted my pie, because you're almost always better stay with the original recipe when it comes to pies. Whatever your mom did, just copy it. Then I amended my Tom Brady pie to 98% New England and 1% Tennessee, 1% surprise. I'm going to go back to the original recipe of my pie. I'm going to go back to 70% New England, 25% Tennessee, 4% surprise, 1% retirement. That is the last time I am changing my pie. Now, here's why I like New England. How can I explain this? Let me get a sip of coffee before I go into this. I love pie and coffee. So when people rant and complain, they're telling you they want resolution. You know when I worry? You know what I would worry? If Joy was mad at me and yelled at me, I'd be like, she's yelling at me because she doesn't want to leave. she wants me to fix something. If Joy went 0 dark 30 and for 2 weeks didn't talk to me, she's out of here. She's left. She's decided she doesn't like me. I worry about when people go dark, go silent. I don't worry about when people yell at me. My wife yells at me all the time. I'm okay with it. That means she loves me and she wants resolution or change. If my wife went silent for a month, I better get an attorney. Okay? Tom's not silent. He's vetching to everybody. He's complaining to everybody. He's leaking this stuff. Okay, Belichick's not leaking this stuff. Belichick can't even get a hold of Brady. You think he's getting a hold of the Boston Herald? Tom's complaining because he wants resolution. He wants change. He wants weapons. He wants guarantees. So when Tom is complaining, it's very hard to leave things that work. Right? It's hard. It's hard. Like 12-4, I'm out of here. 12-4 gets Stephon Diggs. You could be 13-3. That division's still Buffalo and 2 dysfunctional organizations, and we're not even sure Buffalo, you can count on them. So when people complain in life, don't be turned off by it. They're showing you, I like it here. I just want to change your resolution. Brady's complaining. That's healthy. If Tom went dark and I didn't hear any stories from New England and anything from Brady, that's when you got trouble. And they're not contacting Tom, and Tom's not leaking anything. Then Tom's doing something covert with a team. It's already done with an owner. He's already flown there. He's already met. All right, Greg Cosell is joining us from the Combine. It is always great to have Greg Cosell on, 40 years NFL films. So, Greg, here's what's interesting about combines and drafting. We know, Greg, that a third of the first round will either bust or not be as good as we think. I mean, that's generally, there's a lot of hype with this combine stuff. So when you look at this first round and compare it to other first rounds of note that you remember, is it more talented, less talented? How does it land for you, this combine, this draft?
Well, I don't know who's going to be drafted in the first round, so that's a tough question to answer. I think you're going to see there's certain position groups this year that are strong. I think wide receivers strong. Quarterbacks always get taken for obvious reasons. Sometimes quarterbacks get taken, as you well know, Colin. A team might have a quarterback rated the 40th best player on their board, but they need a quarterback and they take him 20th in the draft.
Right.
So we know how that works. But I don't know who's going to be drafted where. My guess is Joe Burrow is going to be the first pick in the draft. I think that's probably pretty clear.
Yeah. I talked to an NFL general manager on the East Coast last night who I respect. He said, listen, a lot of these commentators are making him out to be John Elway and Peyton Manning. He's like, he's closer to Tony Romo or Kurt Warner. He could be a very good player. They said he's a very good prospect. They didn't classify him as a great prospect, but a very good prospect. Is that how you see him? What does the tape tell you?
Well, I think the reason they would probably say he's a very good prospect, not a great prospect, is because he lacks one thing, and that's high-level arm strength. Then you can have a discussion as to the relative importance of high-level arm strength. But other than that, I think he has all the needed traits. They show up on film. He's very poised. He's got great vision. He sees things. He throws with timing. He's very good in the pocket. He's really accurate. His ball placement's precise. He can get out of the pocket and make throws and move. So to me, he's a higher level prospect with every trait but high level arm strength. And then we can debate what the value of that is in today's NFL, where the passing games seem to be shorter and shorter every year.
Now, last year at this time, he would not probably have been considered higher than Tua if you went a year ago before the LSU season started. So did he pop late? Or was Tua always a little overvalued in your opinion?
Well, again, I can only tell you what I think of Tua. I can't tell you what others think of Tua. I think Tua presents as a good athlete, not a great athlete, who's an efficient executor of a well-schemed passing game. If Tua, for me, is to reach his NFL ceiling, I think stylistically he'd have to play like Drew Brees. He'd have to be an efficient, precise pocket passer, playing with high-level timing and rhythm and ball placement. He's not a great athlete. He's not Russell Wilson. He struggled to get away from college defenders when he moved, so he's certainly going to struggle to get away from NFL defenders. So I don't think Tua is the same level of prospect that Burrow is. And there's one thing about Tua that I'm a little bit concerned about. is he showed a tendency to climb the pocket when it was not necessary, and he would move into the bigger bodies, and he's 6 feet tall, and that's going to have to be cleaned up.
Oh, good stuff. Have not heard that. Justin Herbert, it seems to me every time somebody talks about Justin Herbert in the last 2 weeks, they like him less and less. The knock I heard from 2 scouts was he doesn't do anything off script. It's a little Ryan Tannehill. Big athlete, strong. You can design stuff for him. Give him protection in a running game. He's fine. There's not a lot off script. His accuracy can be hit and miss. The more you see of Herbert, do you like him more or less?
I would agree with the accuracy being very erratic. I don't think he has a natural sense of timing and anticipation. I think he's what I call a see it, throw it quarterback. So I think there's some definite concerns about Herbert. I don't think he has very good pocket movement. Now, he can run out of the pocket. He's very athletic for a man that size, but I don't think he navigates the pocket particularly well. So, yes, I think there are legitimate concerns about Herbert. But, again, more than likely, someone might fall in love with the fact that he's 6'6" and an 8", 227 with a big power arm and very good movement ability.
Yeah. I watched Jordan Love's sophomore tape, and then I watched his junior tape. And his junior tape's got a game against Air Force when he's dreadful. But
he was bad.
Bad. But then I watched some sophomore tape, and I'm like, okay, this is kind of, he's a little loose, but Lord, there's something there. What do you do when I like a guy as a sophomore more than I like him as a junior?
Well, but his traits are the same. That's the thing. So you have to look at the traits and the attributes, and I think he'll be a fascinating evaluation. I think he's an intriguing prospect, maybe the most intriguing of the higher-level guys, because he's a higher-level arm talent. He can throw with velocity. He can throw with touch, and he's a ball distributor. Herbert's not a ball distributor. Love is a ball distributor. There's a rhythmic feel to when he's playing well. He's certainly got mobility. He definitely has higher-level first-round traits, and then people are going to have to decide how he can be coached. He needs some lower body work. I met his coach out here who's working with him a lot on his lower body mechanics, so his base is firm all the time. But he has better traits than Tua. That doesn't mean he's a better quarterback or will be one, but he has better traits.
Jacob Eason, to me, he's the easiest guy. He's a little Flacco. Big arm, big kid, but boy, if you give him a muddy pocket, he's in trouble. He feels like 7 years ago we would have all fallen in love with him. I don't know
That's a great point, yeah.
I don't know if he's built for today's NFL. He's the easiest one for me to evaluate is you better have a good O-line and you better have a running game. Your thoughts?
Well, it's funny. I think your point's 100% right because I think he's the kind of guy that is going to be a litmus test for how the league views these kinds of quarterbacks now. Because even though he's not quite a statue, he will succeed or fail based on his ability to play from the pocket. And he's obviously a high-level throwing talent. The ball just jumps out of his hand.
Yep.
He's a natural thrower, but he's not going to move very well. You're going to need to protect him. You're 100% right. I mean, you think back 15, 18, 20 years ago, I don't think he's as talented as a Carson Palmer, but he's in that mold of quarterback. And Carson Palmer was the first pick in a draft and a consensus first pick in a draft back in 2003. So Jacob Eason will not be a first pick in a draft, but I'm anxious to see how the league sees that style of quarterback right now.
Okay, it's supposed to be the best wide receiver draft ever. So this is I got some people were saying the other day I'm crazy. I think Jerry Jeudy is a first-round wide receiver. When you have a loaded draft at a position, I'm always reluctant to think I'm going to go get somebody in the first round. I think the second, third, and fourth round, there's all sorts of really good college wide receivers. I think Jerry Jeudy is special. Jumps off the page, has for 2 years, route running speed. Okay, CeeDee Lamb is very good after the catch. Nobody would deny in that Oklahoma system he's remarkable. I read something yesterday. Somebody said, I like CeeDee Lamb more than Jerry Jeudy. I don't see that. Do you?
No. In fact, I think it's Jerry Jeudy and everybody else.
That's what I think.
I think he's the best wide receiver prospect in the class. He's explosive. He has a subtle understanding of route running, a very advanced, refined feel for it, which is rare for a college wide receiver. In fact, I wouldn't, and again, I'm not normally a guy who makes lists, as you know, But if I had to make a list, I would not have CeeDee Lamb as my number 2.
Thank
I would
you.
I would actually have Henry Ruggs as my number 2.
Yeah, the burner. He'll go to Philadelphia, perhaps. Yeah, the burner. That Ruggs can really. It's nothing against CeeDee Lamb. Looks a little thin to me. Saw him get beat up a little bit. I think he's great after the catch. I think he's going to be a nice pro. I'm hearing all these Judy and Lamb are the same guy, and I'm like, that's not what my eyes tell me.
No, I don't think they're the same guy. I think Lamb. To me, Lamb is going to be either a slot guy or a movement Z. I don't think he's an X single receiver to the boundary. I don't think he's that guy. I think he's good after the catch. I think he had about 6 plays where you go, oh, my God. But I don't think that he's going to make a living as that kind of player in the NFL. He's not a sudden explosive athlete, and I'm fascinated. Not that 40 times matter, because sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But I don't think he's going to run a great 40, just my personal opinion, and I'm very anxious to see how people feel about that. When my sense is he's going to run over a 4.5, but I could be wrong.
God, I just love Greg Cosell. 40 years NFL films. When are we going to get you out here to L.A. and sit in our couch, our chairs? Are that coming up?
I'm ready when you are, Colin. I'm ready when you are. It's a very comfortable couch. I like it. I'm ready when you are.
Great talking to you, Greg. Greg Cosell. Good stuff.
Thanks, Colin.
Yeah, I mean, all you fanboys out there at Texas A&M, when I said Manziel's going to be a bust, you all disappeared the minute he was. I like CeeDee Lamb. I don't think he's close to Jerry Jeudy. I think that Bama receiver I think he's going to walk in and be a 70-catch, 8-touchdown guy. You put Jeudy on the right team, he is going to pop. He'll get a Pro Bowl vote or two. CeeDee Lamb's just a college receiver who, in a great system, it can make plays. After the catch, he can do some great things. But the Big 12 plays no defense. Jeudy is eating alive SEC corners, eating alive LSU corners. One guy's eating alive, Texas Tech corners. And with Lincoln Riley as a coach, it's what I see. I think he's a good. I think he's going to be a nice pro. I don't think they're close. As prospects, I wouldn't take CeeDee Lamb in the first round. I wouldn't. TCU's got a wide receiver I love. I think he's closer to CeeDee Lamb than Jerry Jeudy. All right. I love getting draft hate mail. Yeah, I have so much fun with this stuff. It's so much fun to me to get yelled at on the internet.
This is like Christmas. This is the holidays for you.
Because I got a lot of contacts. So when I got, guy screaming at me on Twitter with 9 followers, it's like, I just talked to a GM. I don't really care what you think. Coming up next, you're asking me to do something with Westbrook that I'm not willing to do. That's coming up.
Be sure to catch live editions of The Herd weekdays at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific.
Dear Young Rocker is more than just a podcast about music. It's a memoir of how it feels to survive high school when you don't fit in and the freeing feeling of picking up a guitar for the first time. It's also advice for anyone who is or was young and has ever felt weird or alone. One Dear Young Rocker fan wrote to say, I truly wish I could teleport back to 2000 and give my younger self this podcast and write, your cellulite is just as punk as Johnny Ramone's weird face on my wall. Another said, thank you for sharing your story and letting my daughter know she's not alone and that it will all be okay. The AV Club's Podmas says about DYR, this podcast exploring the relationship between gender, rage, and the power of music is like an unearthed time capsule containing a forgotten strain of teendom. Dear Young Rocker is written and narrated by me, Chelsea Urson, executive produced by Jake Brennan, and comes to you from Double Elvis Productions. Listen to Dear Young Rocker on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
On Fox Sports Radio, FS1, and the iHeartRadio app.
Another huge weekend of XFL football gets started Saturday as the Seattle Dragons face off with the St. Louis Battlehawks. Don't miss a second of the action Saturday at 5 Eastern on Fox and the Fox Sports app. And don't forget, before the XFL games kick off this weekend, make sure you download the Fox Sports Super 6 app and play for free for a chance to win up to $10,000.
With TrueCar, save an average of $3,500 off MSRP. Buy smarter, drive happier, more transparency. Great to have you in. Oh, by the way, Houston now. I watched the Houston Rockets play for about an hour last night. They're playing very well. They crushed like Memphis last night. Played very well. Watched Westbrook had another very good night. I've always said 2 things about Westbrook. He is a great athlete, perhaps the best athlete in the NBA. Always said that. Secondly, I think his style works much better in the regular season where you just can't meet his athleticism and energy on a Tuesday night than it does in the postseason where I get to play him 6 times in 2 weeks and I can marginalize him. Right now, everybody is on Houston. Every Slam magazine, pom-pom waving NBA fan. Oh, my God! You want me to forget 12 years of Russell because of 9 games without Clint Capella. I can't do that. Okay, Westbrook isn't shooting threes now. Why? Because they traded Capella. It opens up the floor, and he's great at the rim. And his energy on an average NBA regular season night when, he comes in, he plays hard every possession, every night. Not everybody in the NBA does. He overwhelms people with his athletic ability and his energy. But in the NBA playoffs, everybody's equally rested. Houston is right now kind of playing small ball, and everybody, like the Baltimore Ravens, during the season, they're kind of adjusting to what they're doing, and it's very hard in the middle of a season to adjust to a team that small. Everybody's kind of struggling. The first time you see them, you're like, the Lakers played them, and they were, they tried to get small, then they tried to go big, and the Lakers were confused. Remember, Houston came in and beat the Lakers, and the Lakers couldn't figure it out. When a team does something new, Baltimore Ravens did it this year, is that there's about a 9-game stretch. People are trying to figure out the Ravens' offense in the middle of a season. And then at the end of the season, San Francisco played them kind of straight up, and then Tennessee played them. And by the end of the season, people kind of figure out what they are. In the playoffs, you have a bye, you have extra time, the games are more meaningful. Westbrook was shooting 6.5 threes a game in January. He hasn't changed. The opposition and the game has changed for him in this 9-game stretch without Clint Capella, 8, 9, 10, whatever games it is. But he's still Westbrook. He would shoot threes if there's a rim defender, which the Lakers will have, which the Jazz will have, which Denver may have, which certainly Milwaukee would have if they ever made it to the finals. So you're asking me to watch 9 games of Westbrook, or 8, 9, 10 games since Capella left, and say, this is who he is. He will not shoot threes. Yeah, I will. When the rim isn't a place he can finish in the playoffs, he's going to go back to shooting shots he shouldn't shoot. He's a great athlete. I think he's a wildly entertaining regular season player. But there are players in this league that have not fared as well in the playoffs. James Harden's a great example. Why does James Harden not work as effectively in the playoffs? Because the refs swallow their whistles. He doesn't get to the free throw line. You saw it last year. You saw it the year before. Refs were like, no. We'll give that Tuesday. We'll give you that against Orlando at home on Tuesday. We're not giving you that against the Clippers and Kawhi and LeBron, and we're not giving you that. We're not giving you the friendly whistle. It's the playoffs. So when refs swallow the whistle, Westbrook doesn't get the foul calls, doesn't go to the line, gets frustrated, starts taking worse shots. James Harden doesn't get the call, can kind of zone out, gets frustrated. This league, there are some guys that are built for the playoffs. Kawhi likes physicality. He's good in the playoffs. LeBron can handle physicality. He's good in the playoffs. Duncan can handle physicality. Michael Jordan. These guys liked physicality. They had no problem. Magic was a 6'8.5" point guard. You could bang on Magic. He was good with it. Not all guys are as comfortable with that physicality. Kevin Durant, big, long, can handle you bumping him. He's a very good playoff performer. Harden and Westbrook have not proven to be. Enjoy with the news.
No.
Turn on the news. This is the Herd Line News.
So while we're talking about Cincinnati and Detroit and what are the Giants going to do, we haven't really talked much about Washington Redskins because we're all assuming they're going to take Chase Young. But they do have the second pick in the draft.
Number 2.
They might just surprise the league and take a quarterback. Ron Rivera says he likes the potential he sees in Dwayne Haskins, but he is keeping the team's options open. He said, we have to go through this process. Everything is an option. We're not closing the door on anything. We have a very good young player. The more I learn about him, it puts us in a pretty good spot. One thing I have seen is his commitment. I walk by the weight room, there he is. I walk by the locker room, there he is. That's a sign of a young man learning that he needs to be around. But Washington does plan to host Joe Burrow and Tua in pre-draft visits. Now, they could just be doing their due diligence, or Ron could be being a little savvy and, put a little fear.
Do you notice what he said, though? What was the compliment he paid?
to Dwayne Haskins?
Yeah.
He's in the building.
That is the single biggest complaint last year on him. My sources were telling me in the league the knock on him was, is he all in? That's Urban Meyer when he said he's not quite ready to be a franchise quarterback. Is he all in? Is he mature enough? So Rivera points out his weakness. I like what I see. He's in the building. That'll go public. Dwayne can read that.
Well, I read an article. I can't remember who it was that talked to him, but someone talked to him. I read an article earlier this week that someone talked to him about that being something that he needs to do. So clearly he's listening. And listen, these are young guys we're talking about. Yeah. I didn't come into the business knowing everything to do and how to do it. Sometimes, and some people don't know that you need to put in those extra hours.
Right.
I mean, we've talked to Taysom Hill before, and he's talked about working with Drew Brees. He learned how to be a pro from Drew Brees. Patrick Mahomes learned how to be a pro from Alex Smith. So it's not that, they're out on Dwayne Haskins, but this is strategically the right thing to do if you're Ron Rivera. We don't know what Dwayne Haskins is. They don't know what Dwayne Haskins is. Dwayne Haskins probably doesn't know what Dwayne Haskins is at this point. But saying that you're open to the option of possibly taking Tua at number 2.
It's a thing.
It's possible. We never know what's going to happen in the draft. If they do that, I mean, that leaves a lot of teams a slot down in the quarterback draft.
I think my gut feeling is Miami is not taking any chances. Miami's moving up in this draft.
I don't see how you don't if you're Miami. Miami has been plagued with this. I mean, they've obviously had Ryan Tannehill and, was stable, but not anywhere where they needed to be for many years. And, I mean, it's felt like this since Dan Marino. So, you need a franchise guy. You have the picks. They have 14 picks in this draft. It's going to be all right. You're in a good position last year. Obviously, we all thought they were tanking and we're going to have the number 1 overall pick, and they didn't. So, just Dolphins have to be aggressive no matter what. If they feel like they know who their guy is, just go get him. So, Jason Tatum just dominating the Celtics every night. 33 points, 11 rebounds in Boston's 114-103 win over Utah last night. This was his 3rd straight game with at least 30 points while shooting 60%.
I watched the first quarter of this game.
Or better from the field.
You know what's amazing, Joy? He didn't suddenly get good. This is what young people need, the green light confidence. About a month ago, something happened with him, and he just felt like either the coaching staff talked to him, they're like, young man, this is your team. You go back to the first week of the season to now. He's playing with a confidence. You watch him last night, he feels like this is my team. I didn't feel that when the season started. I thought he was the best player, but some green light happened to this kid. Something clicked. He is just so long. His jumper is so confident now.
I'm not going to say I predicted this, but you could see the potential in him. And this is also what happens when you get the right pieces for whatever your culture is. I didn't love the way that Brad Stevens handled Kyrie Irving. That was obviously a failure on both ends. I don't think it was all Kyrie Irving. I think when you have a star in the building, you have to find a way to make things work. And to me, the teams that are most successful for the longest amount of time have someone who is really capable of assigning roles and getting guys to buy into their roles. Tony Allen just talked about it the other day. He bought into his role. Whatever your role is, do it to the best that you can do it. Everybody is not the superstar on the team. So he's able to be the star because everyone else is buying into what they do and doing it at the highest level. All 5 starters scored in double digits last night.
That's what they do. That's what Boston does. They spread the floor, and
they've won 14 of their last 17 games after a second 3-game losing streak of the season. They're 3rd in the East, 41-17. They're clicking right now. Meanwhile, Utah fourth straight loss.
They have major backcourt issues. That Conley situation is just unraveled.
Yeah. So finally, LeBron will miss his 3rd game of the season tonight when the Lakers take on the Warriors. The team announced that LeBron is out with a sore groin.
Yeah.
The Lakers are on a 6-game winning streak, and LeBron is coming off that season-high 40-point performance in Tuesday's win over the Pelicans, where he was incredible.
You know what he did? He played tennis with the young kids, and he was great. And then he's like, I am old. I'm going to take a night off because I pulled something. He was such a show-off. And I love him. I had a buddy that was at this game. He came to me, walked up to me yesterday at the club, and he said, my God, we were watching the game. We're like, LeBron looks like he's 27 years old. But the problem is when you go out and you beat the young guy at tennis, the next day you're like, oh, I'm a little sore. I gotta take tomorrow off.
That's why I don't do those high intensity workout classes, because I'll feel good going in and I'll get it done.
Yeah.
And then the next day I cannot walk.
That's right.
I cannot move my arms. I'm like, okay, let's do some hot yoga, a little elliptical.
You know who?
Not get crazy.
You know who LeBron plays Sunday, don't you? Pelicans. You're gonna play him again.
Another
flex
40-piece?
again. Yeah. The joy of the news.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
The Herd Lie News.
We got all sorts of stuff going on here today. This has been such a good day so far. Chris Jones of the Kansas City Chiefs, a great, great player, is going to be joining us right around the corner. It's top of the next hour. It is NFL Combine week. The stories that are now, they're not just trending here, folks. Legitimate NFL people. Brady's out of New England. Now, as I've said before, I think Tom's complaining. I think he's privately grumbling, and I think that means he's upset, he wants change, and he wants resolution. When people grumble, I think it's a sign they're unhappy but don't want a divorce. When they go silent is when it worries me. So I think Brady is grumbling privately. I know that. That I have sourced. He's grumbling. I think a lot of these stories are Brady-driven to the market with reporters he trusts or his people trust. I don't think New England's doing a lot of talking to the Boston Herald and to various people, but they're out there now. The stories are out there on Tom Brady. They're real, and Jeff Darlington is like, I think he's gone. Mike Lombardi is like, it's down to the Titans and the Raiders. I don't buy the Chargers, and I do think he could be gone. So people connected to Tom know people who know Tom. I still believe, I'm going to say he's going to stay with the Patriots. I think we have resolution. If you're asking me what I'm rooting for, I've always said I think it's a perfect time to retire. Perfect present, wrap a bow in it, great career, GOAT, favorite quarterback of my life, done. That's not going to happen. The chances of that happening are very slim. So then if you're asking me what I would prefer as a fan of Tom, I'd prefer him to play in New England one more year, 10, 11 wins, go to the playoffs, right off into the sunset, kind of tired of all of it. But as a broadcaster, Joy and I like chaos. Watching Tom Brady in another uniform is fascinating. It is fascinating. It gives me a talking point. And there is one thing about the 5 teams that he's rumored to go. All 5 places have one thing in common that makes me think Tom has got a little leverage and Tom could go. That's coming up.
Be sure to catch live editions of The Herd weekdays at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific.
Fit is very important. There's a lot of talk about Tom Brady leaving New England. It is now, according to Jeff Darlington, a certainty he's leaving. Adam Schefter and others are saying Tom can't wait to explore free agency. Now, this is something to remember in all this stuff. Just remember this. 9 months ago, before the season started, in fact, about 9 months ago, because it was last summer, Joy and I were doing this show. Stories were coming out. Tom's putting his house up for sale. His trainer's putting his house up for sale. Adam Schefter, last summer, Schefter was the first, and I know Adam well. Adam's not just making stuff up. Adam Schefter said last summer, he was the first one to say, do not dismiss this. Before the season, Tom was unhappy. Before the season. So this is credible now. Here's the one thing to think about. I'm going to take the 5 places Tom has been, it's at least you hear stuff. There's all a little bit of a quarterback dilemma. Let's take Tennessee. Do they want to sign Ryan Tannehill to a 4-year deal? They don't. You've got a little bit of a dilemma in Tennessee. They like him. They don't love him. Indianapolis. There's no secret. They're looking to upgrade at quarterback. Phillip Rivers from credible sources is in their sights. Well, hell, if Phillip is, Tom is. Los Angeles Chargers. They don't have a starting quarterback. Not a franchise guy. Dallas. Dak wants more than Jerry wants to pay him. Maybe the least possible, but it's a dilemma or the contract would be done. And then Oakland/Las Vegas. Derek Carr is 4-33 against playoff teams. That's an issue. That's an issue. He's not been able to beat the best teams. Brady's defined by that. So I got 5 teams. All of them have a little bit of a dilemma. Then, who pays everybody in this league? Owners. Let's go to the same 5 teams and look at their owners. Tennessee, Amy Adams, daughter of Bud Adams. I'm told Amy will listen to the GM and coach. The GM and coach in Tennessee are former Patriots. Okay, let's go to Indianapolis. Jim Irsay can be impulsive, but he has always listened to his general managers. He listened to Bill Polian, Ryan Grigson, got him in trouble a little bit, and Chris Ballard. He listens to his GM. Chris Ballard is considering Phillip Rivers. You don't think he'd consider Tom Brady. L.A. Chargers, I know Dean Spanos. There is no question in my mind he will explore this. There's a lot of tension between the Rams and the Chargers right now. The Chargers aren't holding up their deal in terms of selling suites and tickets. Tom sells suites and tickets. How about let's go to Dallas, their owner. Jerry loves attention, marketing, and stars. Jerry Jones would get a million free minutes in 2 weeks on every outlet. Let's go to Las Vegas. Hell yes. You don't think you don't think the Raiders, the name Mark Davis, I just bumped into him at the fight. Very nice guy. You don't think he wants Brady? Hell yes, he wants Brady. So I have 5 teams that have, a little bit of quarterback dilemmas. Tennessee doesn't want to sign Tannehill to 5 years. Indy's rebuilding, and they need somebody now because their O-line is really good and they can win now with the right quarterback. Chargers don't have a quarterback. Oakland has one that doesn't beat good teams, and Dallas has one that wants more than they want to pay or they'd have them already signed up. And then you go down to the owners, it works. Now, Dallas may be the long shot, but you got to be careful about just totally dismissing it. Nick Wright was on earlier today. All I'm saying is the owners are all, it kind of lines up, and the quarterback situations, there's a dilemma for all of them. Nick Wright earlier was talking about, we got into several discussions on this about stuff happens when there's the timing is good. Brady's timing is good here. It's good if you now. My gut feeling is with Tom is that if he's going to go to a new team, I think he would like to have somebody in the building he knows. Let's take the Titans. He knows the GM. He knows
Vrabel.
He knows Vrabel. When I left from my former employer here, we had somebody here that I knew. You don't want to walk into a building as a stranger. You've got to have a kingmaker. You've got to have a lieutenant. You've got to have a sergeant when you're not in the room backing you. So Tennessee makes some sense. He's got people. He doesn't in Dallas. He's got people in the room. And the other thing is the ownership situation for Tennessee feels like it would be conveyed from the GM and the coach up. It'd be fine. And they got the Tannehill issue. So I do think the Dallas thing, I know you're giving it no chance. I get it. It's clickbait, right? But, man, a lot of stuff makes sense. And Nick Wright talked about that if Brady went to Dallas.
I do wonder if the Cowboys cannot come to terms with Dak, if they franchise tag him and they have the opportunity then to trade him. In a world I heard you enjoy talking about how aggressive teams are, if Frank Clark, when he's franchise tagged, gets a 1 and a 2. If Jalen Ramsey gets 2 1s and a 4. And so if you're the Cowboys and you have the ability to get Tom for less money and get multiple additional first-round picks to supplement your team with cheap young players, which you have to have because you've paid so many other guys, it's something that at least, let me put it like this, you at least have to have a closed-door meeting to talk about it.
That's what I think. And here's the other thing. I want you to go back, anybody listening. Remember when Tebow was winning 7 straight games, won a playoff game, but Elway didn't believe in him. And there was a story that Elway had kind of made fun of Tebow at a steakhouse, at like Elway's or Shanahan Steakhouse, and somebody had heard it. And there was a lot of heat on Elway. Everybody, it was the Christian following in Denver. He'd won 7 games. He beat Pittsburgh and Dick LeBeau and Mike Tomlin in the playoffs. And there was, even though I didn't buy Tebow, and most people in the league I trusted didn't buy Tebow at all, long-term, good kid, but not a long-term franchise quarterback. Now, think about this. What did John Elway have to do to replace Tebow? Now, think about this. he had to bring in a superstar. So the minute he brought in Peyton Manning, you remember what happened? Now think about this. We never talked about Tebow in Denver again. It's as if he vanished. Because Peyton Manning was so fascinating and such an American iconic superstar that it eliminated Tebow Denver as a topic. We were just guys like me, people like Joy. We spent 3 weeks talking about, oh my God, Peyton Manning's in Denver. Think about Dak in Dallas. People like Dak. Dak's won. Could be very controversial. You replace Dak with Ryan Tannehill, the topic isn't Tannehill. It's what the hell are you doing with Dak? But if you replace Dak with Brady, that in itself is such a the magnitude of that is Dak ends up signing with Tampa, and it becomes he was a nice guy. He went to Tampa. I mean, because Dak would find a place to play in this league. Could be Chicago, could be Tampa, could be Carolina, could be anywhere. But you're not going to replace Dak, if you ever had to, with an average guy, with Tannehill, with Marcus Mariota, because then the Dak story, the Cowboy quarterback story, isn't the new guy. It's the old guy that you burned and abandoned. You bring in Brady, the Dak story's over. Like, nobody's talking about it. Dak's going to go and end up in Carolina, and that'll be its own fun story. But the Brady thing will steal the headline. So when you are replacing somebody who is popular, don't go cheap. You don't go cheap. You don't go small. You go huge. Okay? You go massive. And you know, that's, you try to get cheap, you'll get overwhelmed. And that's why there's always a market for iconic people and stars. So, you know, that's why Peyton Manning, John Elway said to the late, you know, Pat Bowlen, the owner, we can't timidly say, you know what, we're going to replace Tim. Just think about if you would have replaced Tim Tebow with, you know, just a, you know, the guy wasn't available at the time, a Kirk Cousins, Case Keenum story. 75% of the people would have gone, time out. We won 7 straight games with Tebow. But once it was Peyton Manning, it was like, well, of course, yeah, I mean, that's, so you got to manipulate the press here if you're Dallas a little bit. If you're not going to go Dak, you got to manipulate guys like me, people like us, which is make it big, giant, massive, overwhelm the world. That's why I think the Brady thing has 1% chance. Hour 3, Chris Jones next.
Be sure to catch live editions of The Herd weekdays at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific on Fox Sports Radio, FS1.
Some people can make, you know, some of us can make people disappear and things disappear. It's got a little Baker Mayfield feel to it.
Mm-hmm. I thought it was very clever.
Oh, thank you.
It's a good follow.
My wife thought I was really a dork. My wife sometimes look at me and just like, she just doesn't even understand the whole. My daughter gets it. She thinks it's a right. My daughter's on Instagram. She gets it.
Well, I mean, you got to give the people what they want.
Thank you. And what they want is me. More of me.
Collins,
and
yes.
With magic tricks, making stuff disappear. Later we do Dominoes, another edition of Dominoes. Tom's leaving. If he lands where they think he's going to land, many think it's going to be Tennessee. How do the dominoes stack up? Dominoes. But first, it is heating up. Okay, this is not me. This is what's happening now. The stories are out. They're dynamic. They're robust. The word at the combine is, latest reports, Tom Brady will not be returning to New England. Instead of worrying and debating, is he staying? Is he going? We've done that. I'm not interested. Let's just put a checklist down of the 5 things we know that matter for Tom. O-line. He's not going to a crappy O-line. Peyton Manning talked about that when he went to Denver. Okay, he's an older quarterback. You got to have at least a top 10 O-line. Weapons. It's the primary complaint he has in New England. Get me guys who can stretch the field, playmakers. Head coach. He wants a winner. He wants a winning head coach. Division. You'd prefer not to play Patrick Mahomes twice a year. Let's not kid yourself. You really want to go to the NFC West? Not like any team would want him there, but you'd prefer to have, let's be honest, he's benefited greatly from being in the AFC East, the NFL's most dysfunctional division outside of New England for 20 years. And then finally, branding. He's got the biggest brand in the league. TB12 is a 7-figure brand. You're not going to throw him into Jacksonville. So O-line, weapons, head coach, division, branding. Now, you have all lectured me. You have all mocked me when I bring up the Dallas Cowboys. They are the only team in the NFL that is 5 for 5 on that checklist. But again, you have told me O-line, best in the NFL, weapons, lots, head coach, McCarthy, a Super Bowl division, outside of Philadelphia, a lot of dysfunction, branding. Oh, good God, the branding's incredible. Adam Silver, the NBA commissioner, would vomit in his limousine if he heard this morning Brady was going to Dallas. It would knock the NBA off television for 6 weeks. But you told me that doesn't count. So let's go to the other organizations. Let's go to the LA Chargers. That's being thrown out, and I've been told Dean Spanos will kick the tires on it. O-line, team weakness. Weapons, very good. Head coach, unproven. Division, no thanks. Mahomes and Andy Reid twice a year. Branding, they don't have any. That's about a star. So Dallas is 5 out of 5. They're 1 out of 5. Let's go to the Las Vegas Raiders. Let's go to the Las Vegas Raiders. O-line, it's not terrible. Head coach, Gruden's a winner. Weapons, 1 running back I like. Division, again, Mahomes twice a year, pass. Branding, weird fit on branding. Tom's corporate. They're the rebels of the NFL. I don't like the branding fit at all for Tom Brady, who's all about health, who's all about corporate. That's not what the Raiders are. All right, who else you want for me? How about we go to the Indianapolis Colts? Okay, O-line, unbelievable. Weapons, Ebron's leaving town. Running backs, good, not special. Head coach, I'll give you half a star. I think Frank Reich is becoming a winner, but he wasn't a winner last year. Division, absolutely. A lot of dysfunction. Branding, I'd argue the branding is Peyton Manning. He's got a statue out front. All right, I'll give you 2.5 stars for that one. Who else we got? Tennessee. Tennessee's interesting. O-line, certainly good enough, ranked 8th by PFF. Weapons, superstar running back, interesting receivers. Not great, I'll give you half a star. Head coach, Mike Vrabel's won since he's been there. And this year, he's stunned the world. Division, again, a lot of dysfunction. Branding doesn't exist. Titans don't have a brand. It's a college football territory. So I give you 3.5. And I'm told that's the favorite. You cannot tell me Tom Brady be cheaper than Dak. Jerry's the best marketer in the NFL. No state tax, celebrity market, more billionaires in Dallas than LA. Did you know that? It's a money town. I'm not saying it's happening. You have lectured and mocked and told me there's 0 chance. All I'm saying is a lot of stuff makes sense. Only franchise in the league. O-line, weapons, head coach, division, branding. And Jerry Jones loves to be talked about. This would be A-Rod to the Yankees on steroids, LeBron to the Lakers on HGH. He even looks right in the uniform. It even looks right in the uniform. So you told me it doesn't. You have lectured me and mocked me. He would be cheaper than Dak, marketer's dream. Jerry literally, Romo on CBS, Aikman on Fox, Michael Irvin on the NFL Network. Jason Witten went to Monday Night Football. He likes to be talked about. I'm getting Dak fatigue. Aren't we all kind of getting Dak fatigue? Brady is a new star and a new story. But, again, told there's 0 chance. So, little old me, 0 chance. The only one you go 5 for 5, that's all I know. All right, let's go to this. Joel Embiid, MRI this morning. He's hurt. In the last 2 weeks, I've had social media Joel Embiid of the Sixers. Instagram exchange with Jimmy Butler. I've had spectacular Joel Embiid, 49 points. I've had Joel Embiid has an MRI today, and emotional Joel Embiid, he flipped off a player. So in 2 weeks, I've got a fine, an amazing game, a stinker game, an injury game. Welcome to Joel Embiid. You get fired in the NBA as a GM and a head coach if you drive to the arena and you do not know what you're getting from your star or best player. You get fired. Tim Duncan and Kevin Garnett, two of the greatest forwards I've ever seen. Some winning years, some great years, some average years in terms of team. Mostly Spurs great years. You knew what you were getting every night. Every night when you drove to the arena with Duncan and Kevin Garnett. Rasheed Wallace, I covered him. Deep down, I think he's more gifted than both. Go ask Duncan and Kevin Garnett who they hated facing. Sheed. With Sheed, you never knew what you were going to get. I covered him. If you needed 30, he'd give you 20 and get a technical foul and get thrown out. If you needed 8, he'd give you 37 and be spectacular. He's a nice guy, by the way. But Embiid and Sheed was just fun. And there's a theory in business. I was told this years ago, and it makes so much sense. If you're in a very serious business, law, tech, politics, having a sense of humor goes a long way. Reagan and Obama had really easy senses of humor. It's endearing. If you're in tech, in law, in politics, these are serious, heavy, daunting businesses. Lighten up a little bit. It'll go a long way. If you're in fun businesses, get serious. Because few people are. Comedy. You want to know who got rich? Bill Maher, Jon Stewart, Steve Harvey, Jerry Seinfeld, Chris Rock. They're serious people in the business of laughs. Basketball's a fun game. You go to basketball, you cheer, you have a cocktail, you take a date. Basketball's fun. Look at players who never achieved to their level. Dwight Howard, goofy guy. Blake Griffin, stand-up comic. Rasheed Wallace, Joel Embiid, Shaq. They doubled down on the fun. Look at the people in the fun game of basketball who have been serious. MJ, Kobe, LeBron, Bird, Duncan. They left nothing. They squeezed every ounce out of the business. When you're in a fun business, take it seriously. When you're in a serious business, lighten up. Embiid's doubling down on the fun. I see a lot of Blake and a lot of Shaq and a lot of Sheed and a lot of... Get serious. Get serious about your diet. He doesn't even look in shape half the time. Get serious about your diet. Get serious about your game. Get off Instagram. That's why I've said before, I'll take the 6'10" point guard who gets the ball to shooters over the hysterically funny, and I don't know what I get when I'm driving to the arena as a GM and a head coach, Joel Embiid. Nice kid, great talent, fun game. But I have watched coaches get run out of jobs. When you're driving to the arena, what do I get from my best players? Coaches just end up, I've seen a lot of coaches get run out of the league. The guys that don't, Brad Stevens is starting to find when he drives to the Celtic game, he's getting like 28 from Jason Tatum. He knows exactly what he's going to get for the next 8 years. So Joel Embiid is hurt again. This is who he is. I got no idea what I get. Great, bad, fine, flipping off, hysterically funny on Instagram, greatest night of the season, hurt. I don't want to go that way. I've just seen that my whole life. Fun guy in an already fun business never gives me the most of him. Always leaves a lot on the table. Wish him well. Hope he's not hurt. Super talent. Funny guy. Good for the league. This is why I'd choose Simmons over Embiid. Chris Jones of the Super Bowl winning Kansas City Chiefs. Man's going to get paid a lot around the corner. He'll be joining us.
Be sure to catch live editions of The Herd weekdays at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific.
MDriveForMen.com, code HERD, not for everybody, for the driven. MDrive, everyday supplement. Well, Chris Jones, 4 years in the league, already been a Pro Bowler. He was a 5-star recruit, went to Houston, Mississippi. So it's confusing. Are you from Houston? Yes, I am. And then you ask a few more questions and you realize that's the name of your town in Mississippi. You went to Mississippi State. Now you're a star in the NFL. For the record, before we get into your life and your career, you went to college with Dak Prescott.
I did.
Did you ever think he would be a star in the NFL?
I did. Dan Mullen is a quarterback's coach.
Yes.
Look at the amount of guys he had. He started with Cam Newton, Tim Tebow, and then you go on to Dak Prescott. Just those guys right there, and how he was able to kind of hone those guys to be NFL caliber quarterbacks.
And Dak's got certain skills. Dak's like a guy's guy, right? Like guys like him.
Yeah, he's a leader. He's definitely a leader from his work ethic and his leadership ability, the way he leads.
So you go top of the second round of the Kansas City Chiefs, and sometimes falling a little bit in the draft by a few slots gets you to a better team. So you fall into Andy Reid, and the Hunt family's amazing, and Brett Veach. These are top people in the NFL. So you get to Kansas City. Did you know, when did you start figuring out, okay, because you got there before Mahomes. When did you start figuring out, listen, this has a chance to be really special? Was it when Mahomes arrived?
No, it was actually before Mahomes. When I realized the guys that I'm playing with and then what we were doing, I think we got a bye my first year in the league. And then the second year we had, I think the second year Pat came in.
Yep.
And that changed everything because we had the pieces the first year. But Alex Smith had some situations, but
right.
We moved on from that and got Pat. But Pat was throwing no-look passes and all of that in practice when he was a rookie. And, he was on the scout team then. And that's when Bob Sutton was coaching the defense. He was throwing no-look, diming us on the defense, and I knew he was going to be special then.
So when he Patrick Mahomes is the greatest scout team quarterback ever. So he's a kid. He's on the scout team, and you guys are all saying, oh, my God, look at this guy.
1,000%. He was going to be special. I knew it.
Compare Mahomes and Dak just as dudes.
They're a little different. The leadership-wise, they're the same, but the way they play the game is a little different.
Yeah. I mean, I would say Patrick's a little more of an ad-libber.
Yeah. Not saying Dak isn't. It's just Dak doesn't – he's not right now where Pat is right now.
So you guys, the offense with Kansas City is not a question. The defense this year struggled initially. There were some injuries. And then all of a sudden about week 11, week 12, we started going on the air, and we're like, something's clicking. What was it? Was it just a matter of we're all playing together? Because about week 12, Chris Jones joining us, the defense started clicking. And that's when we all kind of went, that's when Vegas, that's when all the insiders are like, okay, it's all now working. What was going on every week at practice about week 12 with the defense?
What people don't know, since week 5, that's the last time we had everyone healthy on defense. Week 11, we finally got everyone healthy and back on defense, and we was able to mend and
kind of mesh everything.
Because we didn't have everybody back. We was playing with backup guys in starting roles, and that was new for them. It was good for them, but it was new. And when you have a rookie and you ask him to take 30 to 40 snaps, it can go two ways. It can go, the good way, he out-excels himself, or it can go the bad way.
Overwhelmed.
He need a little time.
Yeah. So you get hot. You faced, it's interesting because last year, early in the year, you faced Baltimore and you gave Lamar Jackson troubles. And then after you gave him a little trouble, he went about 9 weeks and ate the league for lunch, maybe about 11 weeks. So when you faced Lamar the first time, what was it that worked for you guys? Because you were the first team to push back on him and give him trouble last year.
What was it was coming into the game, there was a huge going on fourth down team. And if you look at the game, they went for it on fourth down four times.
Well.
We stopped them twice.
Yep.
And that would change the whole game right there because the second time we stopped them, I think we was on their 40-yard line, and we got the ball back, and Mahomes scored. And that kind of changed the game. Got them out of the running game, forced them to be a passer.
There you go. You are going to be franchise tagged. Now, we talk about this all the time. The NFL just asked. NFL wants a 17-game schedule. You guys are going to fight back and forth. But let's start with the franchise tag. I think it's great for players if you're not a quarterback. If I'm a defensive lineman and you franchise tag me, I get a whole bunch of money for a year. It's obvious Kansas City wants you long term, but they want to do this for a year, get it sorted out because they know they got to pay Mahomes $1 zillion. And it's okay if it does. Does it offend you a little bit? Like, well, why can't I get a long-term deal?
A little bit. It's like a mix of emotions because you figure, after 4 years, you do everything the right way, within the team way, and you try to stay under the lines, out of trouble, and be a good citizen for the team and for the city. You expect to be rewarded. So, when you hit with a franchise tag, it can go different ways. You can feel like they're not valuing you or they're not valuing what you bring to the table, or you can look at it as giving them time to get their horses in a cage and get something together.
How do you feel today about it?
I'm mixed emotions. I feel a little bit like every team in this league has the opportunity to franchise a good player, and
You're more
I'm
than
the
a
lucky
good player.
guy. I'm the lucky guy.
Chris, you're the lucky guy. I get it. I mean, I got to be honest with you. If my company franchise tagged me, I'd be like, well, I thought you liked me. I get it.
Yeah.
Lucky.
It's no hard feelings. It's the business.
Yeah, but there's a little hard. It's okay.
It's a little hard.
Yeah.
It's a little hard. It's like, damn, what else y'all want me to do? I got to go out and get 30 sacks, 35 sacks to show y'all I can,
I get it, man.
But the beautiful thing about the franchise tag, it can go one or two ways. The team either long-term you and have you for the future, or they're going to trade you. So
I mean, you're going to get paid either way. You know that.
Way. Yeah, either way. I'll
be nice to
I'll
get
reach
paid
my
when
benefits.
you have Mahomes as a quarterback.
Yeah, it would be nice to get paid in Kansas City and stay with Mahomes and what they're building over there, what we're building. It's exceptional. I feel like we're building a dynasty, and for Brett Veach, it's about looking at the team, analyzing what you can lose and what you have to keep.
Right.
So,
to me, you feel like in this league, it's funny. Chris Jones joining us. Chris, I always feel like there's 4 things you got to have in this league. Now, you obviously have to have a good coach and a good GM. You got to get the quarterback. You have to have a left tackle. You got to protect him.
Got to.
Okay. You got to have an elite defensive lineman. You got to be able to. You force people to double team. You have to have. The 4th position's interesting. I used to think it was a corner. I'm starting to think now the way the rules are, it's got to be a receiver. And I never thought that my whole life. Quarterback, left tackle, dominant defensive lineman, weapon on the outside. That's how it. And you got. So to me, you're a cornerstone guy. I can live with a good Sam linebacker. I don't need a world beater. I can live with good safeties. I don't have to have Ed Reed. But do you feel like I'm a cornerstone guy?
I do. You actually watch my stats over the last 4 years. I feel like I've gotten better and better for this defense, and I feel like I've positioned myself in a position to be a cornerstone guy.
Let's talk about the NFL's come out and said, listen, 17 games. Now, obviously, you can negotiate. You guys can take off preseason games. Maybe you get a second bye. Maybe you get more insurance when you retire. What is your gut feeling on, Chris, just one more game? What's your gut feeling on that?
No, please no. Listen, I looked at the CBA agreement, and they got some good stuff in there, especially with the scout team guys getting up to 10,000. That's a huge jump from 3,500 to 10,000. That's life-changing.
A month?
A week.
Oh, a week?
Yeah.
A scout guy gets 40,000 a
Well,
month?
a practice squad guy.
Okay, practice squad guy.
Yes, so that's a huge jump. But 17 games and taking away a bye for the second seed, I don't like that because those buys are important. We around week 15, it get crucial. You started feeling everything. You run, your knees, your elbows. You start feeling everything from week 1. So that bye is critical. Unless they're going to give us 2 buys in the season, then it's okay.
So that's interesting because I thought about this morning. If they said, okay, I'll be the league, you're the player. We're going to do this right now, live.
Uh-oh.
Okay, Chris, we'll give you a second bye, 1 fewer preseason game, and 10-year insurance once you retire.
Okay, I can't agree to that because I got to go on the workload within a week and the workload on training camp. How will they adjust to the workload?
Okay, well, what would you like, Chris?
Well, if it was up to me and I was the president of the NFL, I am actually I'm taking away padded practice to 5 practices.
And there's only 14 now.
Yeah, just 5.
All year?
For training camp.
So only 5 padded practices for training camp.
1,000%.
Boy, that's a cream puff league. That's not much physicality.
I know. You're going to give us 17 games, then, the physical part, you got to take something away. To get something, you got to take something away, and I say take away the padded practices.
That was a very tough negotiation right there.
Yeah,
So your whole thing is, listen, man, I want to play for a while. I don't want to get hit in practice.
Yeah, so you telling me for 17 weeks I'm gonna get beat up in practice and still add another game? At least give me another bye week. Take more padded practices away. Take more time away from the facility on our days off. Training camp, they give you a 24-hour grace period. Within the 24 hours, you still have a curfew. I say take away the curfew, give us 2 days off, take away the padded practice, and et cetera, make a few more adjustments. And
what do you think this is, the NBA?
Might as well. Y'all got to put the players first, man. You know what I mean?
No, I get it, Chris. All right. You went to the Combine. You had it was a little malfunction stuff, whatever. Yeah. It was not a great moment, right, for you?
It was great. Hey, listen, I actually was telling somebody 2 days ago, I would have rather that happen to me than anyone else. So I feel like I was chosen for that.
You had a uniform malfunction during the Combine.
Correct.
And it just you were okay with it.
1,000%. It was perfect. It was perfect for not only for me but for the Combine. I got a lot of great deals out of that.
By the way, were you nervous during you were a great college player at Mississippi State. You were a great recruit. You were a 5-star recruit. Is it kind of unnerving? I mean, you walk out there and it's just stare, poke, prod, ask.
You know what? It is nervous. I mean, your nerves are everywhere. You're trying to try to keep yourself calm, and you have so much talent across from you, and you see all these guys running fast, and then you putting pressure on yourself to excel in whatever you do, and it can be challenging.
Have you stopped celebrating yet?
I kind of slowed down. I haven't stopped. Winners we don't take days off, man.
That's right.
You can't get this feeling back. You look at a guy like Terrell Suggs who haven't been to the Super Bowl in 8 to 10 years. I was talking to him about it, and it's tough to get there. It's tough to get there, and especially tough to get it. And we finally got it. I got it in 4 years, man.
Isn't that great?
You would have told me 4 years ago, listen, you're going to be a Super Bowl champion. I would have laughed at you. But, now it's reality.
Look at you. Good life for you.
Great life.
It is a great life, right?
Yeah.
Just not as great as if you have a 17th week.
I agree with you on that.
It's nice meeting you. You're welcome on the couch or chairs anytime. Absolute pleasure meeting you.
Oh, they're very comfortable, man. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, I love Andy Reid. Is he the best or what?
He is. He is. We done had our personal shout outs to each other, but it's been fun.
Yeah, he's good. He was he played a little football. I think he was an offensive lineman.
He was a kicker too. Have you seen the video? He's like 7 foot tall with some babies out there.
That's his pump, pass, and kick. He's a giant.
He's a large human being.
He is. And you're a large, talented, and very wealthy, as they franchise tag you, human being, Chris. Congratulations on all your success.
Appreciate it, Colin.
All right, good stuff. Joy with the news.
No.
Turn on the news. This is the Herd Line News.
So Chase Young has been projected in many mock drafts to be the second pick in this year's draft, but he thinks he's worthy of being the first player off the board. He said, I definitely think I'm the best player in the draft. I think I showed that on my tape. You can look at every game. I think I showed it. I think I put my best foot forward this year. I think I bring a lot to the table. The whole package is a defensive end, and I'm excited to show it.
No, he could be the best. I mean, to be honest with you,
if there weren't so many teams that needed a quarterback, he would be the number one.
Yeah, I mean, if you're asking me who's a better prospect, Chase Young's a better prospect than any other player in the draft. I think that's fair.
He's the best player in the draft, but you don't go number one in the draft just because you're the best player in the draft. Now, certain scouts and certain teams have that mentality that we're just going to take the best player rather than draft what position we need.
Well, I think once you have the quarterback, you can do that most years.
Right, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. It's just not one of those years.
You know
Not
what
only is there always a team that needs a quarterback, this year there's like 10.
You know what I should have, because everybody says the Ohio State corner, Jeff Okudah, is the second best player. I got to tell you something. In today's NFL, Jerry Jeudy of Alabama, that wide receiver, I think he is going to light this league up. I've seen it 3 different places he's going to go. One of them's the New York Giants. If you got Saquon Barkley and Jeudy and Evan Ingram and a Sterling Shepard, I'm going to tell you something. I think that Alabama kid, I think he is going to light this league up.
If the Giants don't move, I could see them taking him.
He is, I'm telling you, against SEC defenses. CeeDee Lamb's doing it against Panera Bread. He's doing it against that Big 12 pillow fight stuff.
Okay.
Jerry Jeudy owned LSU, Georgia, Auburn. I mean, you can't stop him.
Well, Chase Young's not going to participate in any on-field workouts at the Combine. He's going to do position drills at Ohio State's Pro Day, and he also compared himself to Joey and Nick Bosa. He said all 3 of us have the same toolbox. As you see in games, we have a lot of similar moves. So
yeah, they are. Yesterday, who told us yesterday? Daniel Jeremiah, former scout, said he would say Nick Bosa, Chase Young, Joey in that order.
Well, then he's a solid prospect there. So rumors have been swirling that the Lions would consider trading Matthew Stafford. GM Bob Quinn has firmly denied that a trade is even on the table. And now Matt Patricia has called the rumors comical, saying that he laughs at them because it's not something that has been discussed.
All right, fine. Okay, go ahead. Yeah. And you get a corner from the Big Ten. All right, go ahead.
So he also said he's one of the reasons I came to Detroit. To Stafford.
Well, Matt Stafford is a capable pro. But
I just think this is funny because what strategy is this? I don't understand.
All right, just laugh at us. Comical. We're just doing jokes here. Comical. I'm just Steve Harvey out here cracking up jokes.
So the Cowboys are still working on locking in a long-term deal with Dak Prescott, and head coach Mike McCarthy thinks that Dak is the right quarterback to lead the franchise.
Well, I think, number one, you just look what he's done in his time in the league. I mean, I think he's been impressive. I've been impressed with him since the first time I saw him play live, up in Green Bay. He's got off to a great start. He's built a really good foundation. I'm told he's a tremendous leader. So, in my philosophy, as we get with, the personnel department and as we go through that, I mean, the defenses get you to the championship. The quarterbacks win championships, and I definitely feel Dak is that quarterback.
All right, there we go. It's all done.
It's not all done. The Cowboys did meet with Dak's representation for the first time since September at the Combine, so that's a good sign.
Yeah.
I'm with you. The anarchy of Tom Brady with the Cowboys would be tremendous.
Oh, my God.
But if that doesn't happen, I hope they give Dak a deal. But I'm just very interested to see where they land on the numbers, because it kind of almost feels like the Cowboys were like, all right, this is our number. Take it or leave it.
A little bit, yeah.
And that reported number was 33. So obviously Dak wanted to play this season and see if they could get higher. I think the way that this season went, 33 is probably looking like a pretty decent number right now. But
it does make you pause when they paid everybody else, right? It does make you kind of go, I mean, Carson Wentz, Philadelphia backed it up 2 years early. Boom. Zeke, 2 years early. Boom.
That's probably what the Cowboys should have done, because now they're in a spot where they don't have a lot of negotiating leverage. I mean, they can obviously franchise tag him, or let him hit the open market, but I don't see what the replacement is there. Like, to me, Mike McCarthy is the right guy to take Dak to the next level. Everyone can say what they want about Mike McCarthy, but he won a Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay, and Aaron Rodgers only plays one side of the ball. So he's got to get some credit for what happened and the success that they had there.
That's fair.
But I just think it's a better long-term plan for the Cowboys to front load this contract and keep Dak there than unless, Tom Brady's knocking.
God, that would be incredible. I would lead our show with that story.
Oh, that'd be the
Tom Brady to
first story.
Dallas totally would lead with it. At least 2 segments. Joy with the news.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
The Herd Line
All right,
News.
another edition. The stories are out. Another edition of Tominos. If Tom Brady leaves, and there's what does New England do? What do the Colts do? What do the Raiders do? The dominoes start falling. If Tom is going to the Titans, which is what everybody is speculating, GM knows him. Owner would submit certainly to the suggestions of the GM and the coach. Both New England ties. They have a good O-line, a good running back. Domino's is coming up next.
Want more Herd? The Herd streams 24 hours a day, 7 days a week within the iHeartRadio app. Search Herd to listen live or on demand whenever you like.
The soccer rivalry between the U.S. and Mexico has reached the MLS. Tonight, it's a must-win game for LAFC when they take on the Mexican club León. Catch all the action at 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific tonight, right here on FS1.
Tom Penn's on our show tomorrow, I think. Tom Penn runs. He's the president of LAFC, former NBA general manager. He's going to be joining a buddy of mine. I think we're going to a party Saturday night.
Ooh,
big deal. No kidding, swanky. All right, there's a lot of rumors on Brady this morning, and we're getting close to the free agency period in the NFL. And there's Boston Herald's reporting Patriots haven't reached out to Tom at all. We're also hearing Jeff Darlington, respected NFL reporter, says, I'd be stunned, his words stunned, if Brady returns to New England. Adam Schefter's been saying for 9 months, Tom will explore aggressively the free agent market. So here we go. It's another edition of Domino's.
Tom Brady is the biggest domino of the NFL offseason. How would Tom Brady signing with a specific team affect other quarterbacks in the market? It's time to play Domino's.
All right, we think Tom Brady, my guess is if he leaves, we're not arguing if, he does. If he leaves, it's the Tennessee Titans. Mike Vrabel was a great friend. He's their head coach. They're a winning team. They were great running back, top 8 offensive line, according to Pro Football Focus. So we think Tom Brady signs with the Titans. Next, we think the Colts go after Phillip Rivers. Melvin Gordon, Phillip's former teammate, said he believes he's going to sign. They have a great offensive line. It's one of the places Phillip Rivers could go and flourish, because they have a probably the best young offensive line in football. What they need is a kind of a risk-taking, get it over the top, throw it down the field guy for T.Y. Hilton. Number 3, we think the Bucs acquire, I'm going to guess here, Ryan Tannehill. If Brady goes to Tennessee, Ryan Tannehill, who led the NFL in passer rating, is available. Bruce Arians has not put his arms around Jameis Winston. Tannehill does not make nearly the mistakes of Winston, but he is just as athletic. Ryan Tannehill can move. He's a big, strong guy like Jameis. You get some upside, but you don't get the downside. So
I like that move for the Bucs.
Yeah, Bruce Arians says the kid's played in Florida. We just saw him play in the AFC Championship. I get some of the Jameis upside, the athlete, without the kind of the nonsense and the picks. He's more conservative. The Bucs get Ryan Tannehill. The Raiders, to me, then go out and get Jameis Winston to compete with Derek Carr, because Jameis is on the market. I do not think Jameis has a huge market. But if Brady chooses Tennessee, that's who the Raiders want. Derek Carr tends to be a tad conservative. Jameis is an over-the-top risk taker. I think you put him in the room and you say, Jameis, you don't have much of a market. We'll give you an opportunity to win the starting job. And I think he pushes Derek Carr and maybe beats him out. I think Joe Burrow then goes to the Bengals. He's the number 1 pick. This is an easy one. He's from Ohio. They'll take him. I think the Lions then keep Matt Stafford. The defensive coach, they have laughed at the suggestion they would draft anybody, even like a Tua, and keep him on the bench for a year. I think the Dolphins then draft Tua. Lions passing on him. We know the Giants aren't going to take him at 4, so then the Miami Dolphins get Tua. Then I think you have a situation with the L.A. Chargers. They're going to strike out on Tom Brady. They want Tom Brady. They're absolutely, the Spanos family would like to lure him in to sell some tickets. They're going to get Justin Herbert, who is, he's the best available quarterback along with Jordan Love at that spot. And then I think the Patriots go out and acquire Andy Dalton. That's where I think they go. I think the Raiders aren't willing to make a move on Derek Carr yet, but they are willing to bring Jameis Winston in. Andy Dalton doesn't have a home because Joe Burrow's in Cincinnati, and they're going to ask Joe Burrow to play immediately to sell tickets and to kind of elevate beyond Dalton. And Belichick wants to prove, by the way, I don't need a superstar. They're not going to sign. Remember, Andy Dalton's a guy, there's no market for him. So New England can pay him nothing, have total leverage. There's a little bit of a market for Bridgewater and Cam. So New England does not want to get in a long relationship, 2 and 3 and 4 year contracts. Andy Dalton, here's 1 year, second year team option. There's my dominoes. Brady, Titans, Colts, Rivers, Tampa Bay, Tannehill, Raiders go Jameis, Bengals, Burrow, Lions, Stafford, Dolphins, Tua, Chargers, Herbert, and Patriots go Andy Dalton. I don't think you're winning that many games with Andy Dalton.
Oh, my goodness. Nobody, no Patriot fan wants to hear that. They're not interested in this list.
Does any of that seem crazy to you?
No. All very reasonable. I'm not saying it's unreasonable.
Listen,
that Andy Dalton goes to the Patriots. I'm just saying to go from Tom Brady to Andy Dalton is a dramatic swing for Patriots fans to digest.
So if Tom did go to Tennessee, it does give you Ryan Tannehill. And so the question is, would Gruden go after Tannehill? I don't think he's a risk taker, and that's his knock on Derek Carr.
Right.
Bruce Arians is like, I've got a risk taker. He throws 30 picks. What I want is an athletic guy like Jameis without the picks.
I think that Tannehill to the Bucs is actually a great idea.
Yeah, I do too.
If Tennessee doesn't end up getting Brady, I think they're going to sign Tannehill to a deal.
And then the reason I have Jameis going to Oakland is I don't think there's a big market for Jameis. You just can't. The turnovers are. The difference is Phillip Rivers and Jameis turn it over, but I think in Indianapolis, they'd want the veteran maturity of Rivers over Jameis's. Sometimes can be a little goofy.
No, I couldn't see Jameis in Indianapolis. Could you see the Raiders making a deal for Bridgewater?
No, because he's like Derek Carr. I don't get any over-the-top stuff. You know, John wants the knock on Carr is the knock on Bridgewater, which is you're limited on big plays. Derek is a little sensitive. He's very accurate. He plays within the play. But, John Gruden is never – he's just not happy with his quarterbacks. He never has been.
I mean, I think that he likes Carr. It seems more like it's Mayock that doesn't like Carr.
Look at Tom Brady in the Titans uniform. Put that up there for the audience to see. Sorry for the radio audience. Just
I don't know.
It's something.
He's so much bigger than the Titans brand, though.
But it does kind of look okay, doesn't it? Kind of. I tell you,
it's blue.
He ain't gonna wear a Buccaneer or a Jaguar uni. I'll tell you that. I've seen that look.
No.
I think it kind of looks like something.
I think the Cowboys uniform is more stunning.
Oh my God, it would shatter every marketing that you would sell more. Brady, and
he already has like the highest selling jersey anyway. Could you imagine? You would have to buy one.
It just listen. A-Rod to the Yankees was as much marketing as anything else. LeBron to the Lakers. You know how many jerseys you're selling? You know how many tickets you're selling? I mean, let's be honest. I live in Los Angeles. Every Laker game with LeBron it feels like something. The Yankees always sold tickets, but they started selling 45,000 on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday games with A-Rod. Dallas is going to sell tickets, but if you look at right now with Dallas, there is a little bit of a Dak fatigue. There's a little feeling that they've kind of hit a ceiling a little. The O-line's getting older. It would be big. Stars Bruins, today's Discover Card Key matchup. Go to discover.com/yes. 95% of places in America do take the Discover card. It's accepted, and 95% of America matches all the cash back you earn on your credit card at the end of your first year. Limitations do apply. Discover.com/yes. Speak for yourself next.
Hi guys, my name is Sammy J. I've been working as a correspondent and interviewer since I was 13. And now at 17, I am so honored to be the youngest person to have her own podcast on iHeartRadio. It's called Let's Be Real with Sammy J. We'll have in-depth and unfiltered conversations with celebrities, activists, athletes, and influencers. We'll cover topics we're curious about, topics my guests are passionate about, and topics many of us are just too afraid to talk about. I get past the fluff to what's real. We go there, and it's fun, pretty crazy, and very revealing. Listen to Let's Be Real with Sammy J on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.